Wishing you a very happy and prosperous New Year 2016. So, as a beginning for this New Year, I would like to bring up something very interesting. Of course, it's a sutra. In one of the sutras, one of the very interesting sutras in the Sutra Pitaka. So, to discuss this in your Dhamma discussion, Dhamma Hadaya, I have invited a resource person who has been with us for some time, and of course he is well known to you, but let me introduce him to you anyway. He is none other than Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera, former diplomat officer currently attached to Sri Lanka Tourism. He is a lecturer in marketing, tourism and event management, as well as the proud author of the book Pointers to Enlightenment. Mr. Wanigasekera is also a meditation teacher, especially to foreigners who come to Sri Lanka. So we warmly welcome Mr. Vipula Wanigasekera. And sir, as I just told our viewers, we are about to discuss one of the sutras in the Sutra Pitaka. When I say one of the sutras, of course, we have many sutras that the Buddha, when you say, when you consider the Sutra Pitaka, it consists of many sutras. Of course, they are preachings or discourses of the Buddha himself. And the Buddha has communicated this message to masses. And lots of, not only humans, but even sometimes audiences of devas and non-humans, of course. And these are very interesting. So among all these very important, very interesting discourses, I have selected one today, which is called Chulla Malunkya Sutra. So some of you may have heard of it and some of you may have not. So now this sutra particularly deals with questions that trouble many seekers of the doctrine whilst trying to understand it. So, how would you elaborate this sutra?
Right. At the outset, let me pay a tribute to the Buddhist channel at the beginning of this year for done a wonderful service to particularly through this particular program to which I have been a contributor, and I believe it has done a immense service. So with regard to this particular sutra, there is a significance in knowing what Lord Buddha was trying to convey. Now, as you know, there are thousands of sutras that have been spelled out by Lord Buddha, and which have been later categorized into Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and so on. And some of the sutras are very short, of course, just a few lines, just conveyed to the person concerned for analysis purpose. Now this one, Chulla Malunkya Sutra, was specifically conveyed to Malukya Putra Thero, and it is relevant today. Why? Because there is this question that among the Buddhists also, although these things have been mentioned in several scriptures, people really want to know the beginning of the universe and the ending of the universe, the beginning of the human being, the mankind, and whether the universe is eternal or it's not eternal, whether the body and the soul are the same. You know, these are a lot of questions that are bothering people, and I have come across many, especially the Buddhists, sitting and entering into debates on various notions as to how this samsaric sojourn continues and how it began and how it will end, and they also quote Lord Buddha wherever it is mentioned in Buddhist scriptures. Now, this is an ideal advice to those who are speaking of things that are beyond human comprehension. And basically, this Thero, Malukyaputta Thero, went and asked Lord Buddha, you have not taught us whether the universe is eternal or not eternal. And you have not taught us whether the soul and the body are the same. You have not taught us whether how the individual will get reborn after death, and how the person dies and gets reborn, and that's how basically the sutra revolves around. Then Lord Buddha responded, of course, being the best orator ever lived, asked Malukyaputta Thero, when you came to me to practice Buddhism, did you make that as a condition that I should teach you this in your practice of Dhamma? Or at any given time, did I tell you in this practice of Dhamma that I will specifically touch on these subjects? And then, and of course, the disciples' response was no, because there was no condition that either he has laid it down or Lord Buddha has spelled out that I will teach you all this. And then I think this is one of the beautiful similes that you find in Buddhist scriptures. And Lord Buddha said, compare yourself to someone who is struck or shot by an arrow in the jungles. And what would you do? Because you are shot by an arrow and you are being taken to a doctor and you are being treated. Will you possibly ask the questions like, I wouldn't get any treatment until I know who shot this arrow? Will you say, I will not get any treatment until I know the height of the person or the color of the person or the family circle of that person who shot this arrow? Or what would be your priority? And obviously the response was, the priority is to pull the arrow out and then you get whatever the treatment, because that is the urgency right now. And that is the human urgency, because the human lifespan is so short and you don't have that much of time. Even if you look at an average lifestyle of a human being, most of the time you are inculcated with your day-to-day work and you are busy all the time, and in most of the time when you retire you have little opportunity to study Dhamma, practice meditation and so on. So essentially your lifespan is so short and that there is no way that the human comprehension can learn all these things about the galaxies and the universe and how it works. It's not possible. Even if you spend another millions of years, still I don't think even the scientists will come to conclusions as to how it takes light years to reach the closest star or something, so how long? The human lifespan is not enough. So how many generations would you require to know all these things? So that is one way of conveying this message. The other one is, will that knowledge help you to find freedom from suffering? So this is a gathering of knowledge, which Lord Buddha said is of no use. You need knowledge to become an engineer or a doctor or an accountant, so you are gathering knowledge and you pass your examination and you become qualified to do that. But the spirituality, the Buddhism and the way out of suffering has nothing to do with acquisition of knowledge. So essentially this sutra is conveying to people, don't waste time on things that are of no use. Because even if you spend your entire life, you wouldn't have the answers. And therefore, look at the urgency, because your lifetime is so short for you to grasp the most important thing, and that is the way out of suffering, and pay attention to that.
Well, I think that is, of course, an eye-opener when you said, because we have to concentrate on the urgent things in life, but are we actually doing it? So I think that is, of course, a very good eye-opener. And sir, with that, I would like to ask you, how does this Chulya Malunkyavada Sutra apply to the modern world?
Which is, again, people in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they had embraced their, whatever the religions they belonged to, and they found that there are two aspects to most of these religious views. One is that religions essentially, not the philosophies, start with a belief. So you are expected to believe something and then proceed with the practices, whichever the religion is spelling out. And although Buddhism was called a philosophy, many people later observed that once again that most of the teachings are also practiced like a religion, where you start with a belief and then you follow the practices. But when it comes to the modern day, people are beginning to realize, yes, now we have started with something revolving around a faith or a belief or a devotion, but it has not helped me to find my inner peace. Although some people have acquired everything, they have wealth, they have publicity, they have power, they have positions, and yet they are not happy, and there is no peace. And that has really helped people to go in search of something which can bring them inner peace and happiness. And there they realize, should I know the beginning of the world? Should I know whether this world will continue? Should I know whether there is a soul or a body, or, does these things matter to me? And what is important to me is my present moment, in which I go through immense suffering, either psychological or physical or whatever. And that is important to me now. And I have to find a solution, a resolution as to how I could experience peace within. So here
just to interrupt you, maybe that is why Lord Buddha said, in this 1 fathom long body, I proclaim the world.
Yes, because, because that is completely coming out of this, the usual model of mind driven life. You see, the usual model means that there is this universe and there is an earth, then I am born into this world, and then I have a mind here. This is the usual model. But the moment Lord Buddha said that, in this fathom long body I proclaim the world, it radically changes that belief, that model, and that kind of version of thinking. And there is a revolution within that can take place when you look at your own life from a different perspective. And like when Lord Buddha says, all you have is this present moment, everything else is just an imagination. Now it's a very simple, someone might probably say, yes, there is a rationale because the past is gone, the future is not yet there, and no, there is a bigger version to that, because if you really look at this Lord Buddha's version, that all you have is this present moment, don't live in the past, there is a bigger meaning, because in fact your reality to this life is only this moment, because your past is arising only as a thought. It has no other reality than that. It's only arising as a thought now. So is your future, because your future is an imagination. It does not mean that you should not plan your future. You plan your future, but it is also happening in the present moment. So, And then the humans suffer immensely because of your desire to be in the next moment, because you always believe that the present moment is not sufficient, the present moment is not good enough. So my happiness is always in the next moment. So you are not there. You are not in the real life.
So does that mean that we are wasting our present moment?
It is.
That would have made a difference?
Or I could probably put it different way.
Okay.
You know, let's say thinking. You know, and if I tell you that probably over 98% of what you are thinking is useless, and it is of no use because it is a thought. It is, of course, a conglomeration of thoughts. It's a series of thoughts, and that is what we call thinking. And most of these thoughts are arising from your memory of the past, or they are arising from your expectations in the future. And there's nothing wrong, you know, you work towards a particular goal. That is a different thing. That is the usual human existence. But the fact is that if you take your entire thinking, and the best part of your thinking is emerging from the past, or it's emerging from the future, and that is what you call your life story. But your reality, what is real, the true nature of life, is only in the present moment. So, you know, that is just one example. You should not take it as just, you know, this is the kind of the panacea to all ills. But that is just an example, just like the way that your whole world is in you, as Lord Buddha said. So once again, coming back to the sutra, it is an ideal way of saying that don't try to go in search of something which will not resolve your problem. Your problem is you are subject to suffering. And is there a way out of suffering? And Lord Buddha has given so many parables, so many metaphors, so many examples for people to do this analysis within and try to understand what really life means.
Yes. Now, since we have been talking about the Chulla Malunkyavada Sutra, sir, I would like to ask now, when the Buddha preached this, or it's a discourse by the Buddha himself, so what do you think was his message to the masses? I mean, it's such a massive audience that would, of course, get to know of this sutra.
Yes, I think compare your life as a person who is shot by an arrow. You have a very short lifespan, and that is a very powerful message. A person who is struck by an arrow, a poisoned arrow in fact, you know, has a very, very short time to live. So see the amount of time with which people are wasting because trying to find out, trying to argue, trying to debate, you know, this is the beginning, this is the end, and this is how it will be, and you know, if you do this you will get this, you know. And Lord Buddha said, you know, just don't waste time. Do whatever you are supposed to do in that present moment, and you take the basic principles. And as we discussed the other day, the mundane practices, the supramundane practices, you have the meditation techniques that are available, and then you have the virtues to be observed, you know. And if you confine yourself to that area, and that itself will open the door for you to realize that that there is a different way of looking at life and the world outside the usual model.
Yeah. Now, now does this mean that the unknown that most of us are willing to explore, does it mean that the unknown should be left as it is?
Well, it's a good question because
for lots of people the unknown is extremely interesting. So,
yes, because when something is unknown and when something is not known, then there are perceptions that are emerging. It could be this or it could be that.
Yeah.
And then through these perceptions, what emerges are various beliefs. So you have no choice but to accept a belief which is not experiential. Now, for instance, if one were to, connect this with probably certain other sutras, particularly the ones that are touching on the 5 aggregates, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, and Lord Buddha says, analyze these things and see. And they become experiential. They are not simply knowledge. You can, when, feelings, for example, you know what feelings, although there is a label for feelings, when the feelings are felt, you know that these are feelings and they are experiential. You can always analyze them. When a thought arises, you know that a thought has arisen. In order to analyze a thought, you have to be before the thought. What generally happens is the thought takes you on a long journey, and that is why the mind controls your life. But when you know that that you can be the observer, you can be the witness to your own thought, then it becomes experiential. Then there is no need when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to finding the truth, when it comes to learning the true nature of life, then let unknown be unknown. There is no point, because I will come to know how the entire the galaxies, how they work, and you will know a lot of things. But what's the point? You cannot find your own freedom. You cannot find your own liberation from suffering. So then that is of no use. So the human comprehension has its own limitation, because there is a mind, and there's a mind-driven life, and your life is confined to that. And there is little window of opportunity, a little window of opportunity for you to understand exactly who you are and what you are, and get out of suffering. And that is the biggest achievement, and that is what Lord Buddha described as the cessation of suffering.
Okay, now, so does that mean that by discovering, every day in the world, scientists discover new knowledge, astronomers discover new stars, new planets, and so on. Now, there are lots of new discoveries, new concepts discovered within a day. So, do you mean that through this, the world is leading to nowhere?
Well, I think there are discoveries that are helping the mankind immensely, particularly in the medical field. Whatever the discoveries they have, day-to-day basis, is helping the mankind to come out of physical suffering.
Maybe in the mundane level, it's
at mundane
helpful.
level, yes. And then what really happens is that it is the same science that discovered the nuclear weapon, and that is the same science that discovers the chemical weapons. It is the same science that is coming up with various types of destructive armaments, and and which is leading to destruction of It is the same science that has led to the establishment of concentration camps, and massacring people in millions, gassing people. It's the same science that has come up with all that. But you see, what is essential is, probably about 15 years ago, the neuroscientists came up with this idea, which is still not challenged, that they tested the difference, the timing of your mind and the timing of your brain. So they have done this practical test, including the people who were subjected to this test were some of the professors, where you make a decision, or you decide to press a particular button of a keyboard. And then they are also testing the brain waves to see at what time you really decide to press the button. And their finding was fascinating, and they still can't fathom out. And for instance, in my mind, you will, if you look at me, you will say, in my mind, I decide to take my glasses. And what really the result of that research said was, before I thought in my mind to take this, my brain had already decided to do that. Now, how can you possibly explain that? You see, now I am talking to you, and I'm of the view that my mind has decided to say whatever I am telling you, whereas my brain has already decided a fraction of a second before my mind. So all this thinking of what you do, now this is completely different to your usual, existence. It is always the post decision. Your mind operates in the post decision moment. Now this is what the neuroscience has found out. It's not what I am saying. This you can go to the website and find out. Now how would you possibly explain that? You cannot, because there is something which even the science is coming up with, and this is what you can see, that manu pubbangama dhamma, finally you are driven by your entire mind, which is just a fallacy, which is not true. That is why Lord Buddha said, when you realize that this is an illusion, you yourself is an illusion, then you are free.
So we just talked about, you just ended up with the word free, then you're free. Okay, now so if someone wants to be free, and if someone who wants to practice the doctrine, who wants to practice Buddhism, wants to be free, and he wants to know how. Now, of course, the doctrine is written in scriptures, where a lot of sutra and in a lot of sutra and Abhidhamma form. So, in in which of those can someone find how to be free?
Yeah, but before responding to your question directly,
Please.
What is freedom? Now, you see, in human life, someone who is looking for freedom, in his own mind has developed the definition of the freedom. That means I will be free from sicknesses, I will be free from problems, I will be free from stress, I will be free from worries, I will be free from anxieties, I will be free from all that. And that is how normally the human beings have defined the freedom.
Yeah, maybe he or she might define freedom as, I'll be free from all those trouble to watch my favorite movie, to sip something. So they might define it,
Exactly.
in exactly the way they want it to
So
happen.
that is the cardinal error in even those who are seeking meditation. The people who think, when you go to meditate, you think, okay, this is a practice. It's like a workout in the gym. I practice this for half an hour or 45 minutes. Then after that, I'll be, mentally okay, psychologically okay. So you already have a preconditioned determination as to what you are going to achieve. So you set a goal, and then you sit and meditate. And at the end, of course, you end up with some kind of a frustration, because a lot of people have this notion that this freedom is, some kind of an exotic experience, where, suddenly you have achieved something, But if you put the same thing the other way around, I don't want to go beyond, what is in the framework, but just for the benefit of the viewers of this program. Supposing, you have no way out of the vicissitudes of life, because, Lord Buddha has very clearly mentioned Ashtaloka Dhamma. You have to face them. Supposing that there is a realization, just suppose that there is a realization, yes, all those pains are there, all those suffering is there, but there is no person to suffer. Supposing, I'm not, asking anyone to believe this. And if there is a seeing through that there is no person, like which obviously the Anatta Lakkana Sutra is clearly mentioning, there is a realization that, the person whom you believed to be true throughout your life is simply an illusion. wouldn't that lead to some kind of a freedom? Although the so-called suffering will continue, but there is no person to encounter any of those suffering. The person is the person whom the mind has created artificially, with which you travel along this samsaric journey.
Yeah. So, does that, I think that is a very in-depth description. But I would like to know, does that answer the question I asked, whether in which sutra?
Yes, I think the most powerful sutra which we discussed the other day is the Anatha Lakkana Sutra, and I think it's a very short sutra, not even a half a page sutra, and simply Lord Buddha is asking the people, okay, you are consisting of these 5 aggregates, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara. Now in your meditative sessions you analyze those aggregates and see whether you can find any aggregate which is controllable. Now, for instance, if the Rupa, and if you apply your body and see whether there is any control over your body functioning, and then feelings, emotions, and mental formations. These are all part of the existence. And whether there is a person directing those existence or happenings, and see whether there is a continuous controller or a director of this, which is, I would probably say, it is not really the depth of the sutra, which is why people cannot really comprehend. It is the subtlety in which this sutra is explained, because as long as you are trying to understand this Anatha Lakkana Sutra as a human being through the human model, it's very difficult to understand. Why? Because people think, I am here, Nirvana is over there, and there's a path to tread, and then I have, sometimes this path could be a very, very long journey, and then at the end I will achieve that. So Anatha Lakkana destroys that notion. And in the first place, you turn attention and ask yourself, who is this I, and whom you are calling this I to be? And when the realization occurs that there is no thinker behind the thought, there is no experiencer behind the experience, it is just the experience, and the person whom you think you are is also part of that experience. And that is the freedom. So, it's not out there. It's if the whole world is within you, and then finding the truth within you cannot be all that difficult.
Yes. And sir, do you think that the Anatha Lakkana Sutra helps in elaborating the message of Chullamalunkyavada Sutra as well?
Exactly, because Chullamalunkyavada Sutra helps people to drop this idea of having to know all these things. I have to know this. I have to have the knowledge to realize the truth. So I have to acquire a knowledge to realize the truth. Now that notion is completely defeated by the Chullamalunkyavada, where Lord Buddha says your human comprehension is not possible to grasp any of those. So let the unknown be unknown, but there is an urgency. The urgency is this, the suffering by a person, and analyze the suffering part. Analyzing the person will help you that really, or at least it will help you to find out the real existence through looking at the true nature of life. So either at mundane level or supramundane level, I think, which is probably the duty of a Buddhist, is to see whether there is something that you yourself can analyze and understand, rather than being just a follower, or blindly follow something someone is saying, with the belief that someday I will have something there for me to reach, while Chullamalukvadi says, you are a person who is shot by an arrow, by a poisoned arrow. You have no time. You simply don't have time to get to the point, get to the core message, and get to the analytical part of it, and be wise, because Buddhism is for wise people. It is not for any kind of people who are running behind, all kinds of rituals and practices. It is for wise people to understand this.
Yeah, as you mentioned, sir, you said that the doctrine, Buddhism, is meant for the wise. So now, since the Chullamalunkyavada Sutra elaborates on, saying that you have to act to the, the urgence. Not, for example, the example of the person who has been shot with an arrow, and saying that, questioning the person as to from which direction the arrow came and as to who shot the arrow, it won't help. So, so is the knowledge seeker. So is the person who wants to know more about the universe. So, so in a way, this sutra says to leave the that the knowing the unknown alone would not help. You have to act fast. So now, is this the reason? Could this be one of the reasons, since you are in the field of tourism, I would like to ask you, that many now from many foreign countries, that most of the people who sort of come in seek of Buddhism or sort of convert to Buddhism are very educated people. Maybe they have been, seeking for knowledge, and ultimately they would have, do you think that they would have understood that it does not lead into anything that helps with inner peace?
I must make a correction. When I say Buddhist philosophy is for the wise, when I said that, how the word wise is interpreted in the modern day societies, your qualifications, your masters and your degrees,
education,
and your positions, that is what it is. A person who is an expert in something cannot be an expert in spirituality, but the society generally think, okay, this is coming from so and so. It's like when you place an advertisement, a car driven by a lady doctor, and you think that because it's driven by a lady doctor, car has to be good. It's a social perception. If at all, if you say a car driven by a mechanical engineer, you can understand that yes, the car has to be good. But the social perception is why? Okay, it is driven by a lady doctor, not even a lady doctor. Therefore, the car is good. So people have these correlations. So when I say wise,
that's a good example.
It's when I say wise, it's not necessarily your education levels and your qualification and your profession. Wise means your ability to just understand, and then you do this analysis within and find the rationale. Is there a rationale in what someone says? So anything that comes out about the world and the universe and the cosmos and everything, whatever someone says, unless it is proven, you are not ready to accept it. So therefore, there is this urgency emerging from the fact that you can easily understand the suffering. That goes unchallenged. If anyone says, no, I am not suffering, I am fine, my life has not gone through any kind of difficulty. Find at least one person in this world who can look back and say, you have not gone through any kind of suffering, whether it is physical or psychological. Now that is the truth. Now if that truth can be understood, then you realize I have a very short period if I am interested to know if there is a way out of this. And anyone who comes to that, now most of the people who are in the European, the developed world, they have gained everything in material terms, but they have realized that they have not found the peace or happiness within. And it's a waste of a lifetime. It's you are trying out all kinds of things now. For instance, in India, they go and engage themselves in various yoga practices and various meditation, and there are, you call it transcendental and mantra meditation. You engage in these things, but everyone is making a cardinal error with you. You start something with the usual human model, that is, I do this and then I will get that. But no one thinks that isn't there a practice where, you start doing a practice with a view to achieving something. How about a practice that might even help you to drop something, And it's completely the other way around. What if there's a practice that will help you to drop what is not original to you? Your name is not original to you. Your family circle is not original to you. Your society is not original. These are all later acquisition from the day you were born. Otherwise, you were born with, with nothing. You are nobody at the time of being born. And later, you acquire all these things and you build this person. And you believe this person to be true. And if there is a technique or whatever the meditation technique that helps you to drop these things, and what are you going to end with? And isn't that some kind of a zero? Isn't that some kind of a freedom? Isn't that some kind of an ocean? Where is this person whom I believed to be all these years? And that's a fallacy, and that's a fallacy that Lord Buddha was trying people to see. And of course, for some people, it's very difficult because you are so much attached.
They don't like to drop. People don't like to drop.
Yeah, because once again, dropping things, it is once again misinterpreted, because then you start, giving away your wealth, which is a good thing, and then you acquire another ego, because this is the ego problem. It's you think, now I was a person with wealth, and now I am a person without wealth. Once again the ego remains. It is the giving up is only happening, truly happening, when this original artificial person start collapsing. And that's what is expected from your meditation techniques, whatever the Vidarshana meditation technique that you use. So it is very, very subtle, and it's like a magician. When the magician performs, you think it's a magic and you wouldn't believe. But if you know really what he does, you will always ask yourself, I should have known, this is so simple. So when something is simple also, which becomes very difficult for people to see, and that's why I, in fact, wrote my book.
Pointers to Enlighten.
Yeah, with the theme that the truth is simple, and it is too simple that people miss the obvious,
Exactly. So I think the truth is, I would say, right under your nose, and people miss it. So I think we hope that today's program was very, very useful to all of us, and it did open our eyes, because we have to act immediately. We are losing time very soon. So I think it is an eye-opener to the whole world to understand that gathering knowledge, of course, though it seems interesting to the mundane life, it does not give you inner peace.